This is a book written by Karl Popper. It's called The Logic of Scientific Discovery. On the inside it states that it's one of the most important philosophical works of our century. Now unfortunately I cannot really confirm that because I can't read this book. Now obviously I can open the book and I can have my eyes go over the words and the symbols mechanically, but in terms of active reading there's nothing, nada. Because my mathematical skills and knowledge is just too poor to read this book. Now I think that everybody has this understanding that you know, what you read obviously influences your knowledge, and I don't think it needs to be argued that a person that doesn't read and a person that reads maybe widely about mathematics, history, science, etc. There's a big difference between those people, but it is not just about active reading. In philosophy, there is a understanding that it's also your approach. Why are you reading a particular book? Are you reading it to write an exam later? Now, it is said in philosophy that if you read a book for examination purposes, that's the wrong way to read a book. If you read a book to answer your own questions, that is the correct way of reading a book. And that I fully agree with. And I think most of us will know that, you know, and we've all been there, that if you read a book for examination purposes, you're going to take the book, you know, and you can read it quite quickly. You're going to go through it and decide, but you know, this part is maybe important and this is not so important, and come to an important bit and say, okay, let's summarize this quickly and let's memorize it so that we can now at a later stage put that in the examination paper and even do well. But that's a very superficial way of reading a book. If you want to have a deep dive and understanding and knowledge, a deep knowledge of a particular topic, the best way is to actually read it, not for examination purposes, but to answer your own questions. Now, say for argument's sake, you have a question about the history of humankind. These days, unfortunately, what most people do is they just ask Mr. Google, type it into Mr. Google, and there comes an answer, they read it, and that's the end of it. Now, or you can maybe go one step further and you can buy this book. It's Yuval Noah Harari's book, Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind. And excellent book, and it will give you a very good summary of the history of humankind. And we're talking about the history of maybe religion, of agriculture, of money, of politics, of science, etc. So you will have a very good idea of the history of humankind. But now when I read this book, at some point I said to myself, you know, what a pity it is that I only read this now recently. If only I read it quite a number of years ago, it could have saved me a lot of time and effort, because the books I had to read to get the knowledge that's contained in this book, I would guess I had to read about 50 to 100 books. And what a lot of time and effort it would have saved me if I only read this book. But then quickly after that thought, I was thinking to myself, but you know, stop, wait a minute. Me reading all those books and struggling to get the answer, that was actually, that journey was fantastic for me. And the longer, I think, the longer time you spend on a topic, the longer you spend thinking about the topic, reflecting on the topic, the more knowledgeable you will be about that topic.